Hey y'all, so we are about to bake a pecan pie, chocolate chip cookies, and sugar cookies. Alright, so I'm going to get started making the pie dough. I'm going to go ahead and make three. I'm going to go ahead and make 3 pie doughs because I got a pre-order for 2 more pies for Christmas. So if I'm making pie dough, I might as well triple the recipe. I'm actually going to do each one individually, but I'm just going to go ahead and make them all. So I have this recipe that I've been following. It's the Magnolia cookbook recipe, and it calls for all-purpose flour, and I use the King Arthur organic unbleached all-purpose flour. Salt, I have the Redmond real salt. 8 tablespoons of butter, so 1 stick of butter, and then a 1/4 cup of ice cold water, and then it calls for 1 large egg if you're blind baking, but I'm not. So this needs to sit in the refrigerator for 2 hours. So I'm going to go ahead and measure out all of my ingredients for the first one, and then I will keep going and I'll make 3, and then I will start on the sugar cookies. So my plan is to do 3 pie doughs, get those in the refrigerator, then do the sugar cookies, then do the chocolate chip cookies, get all of those baking while the pie doughs chill. Actually, 2 of those pie doughs I'm going to go ahead and throw in the freezer because I don't have to make those until the week of Christmas. So 1 of them will go in the fridge, 2 of them will go in the freezer. So let's go ahead and get started on that. I have all of my butter right here. I might have to grab 1 more. I have all of my ingredients for majority of the items that I'm baking. Definitely the pie dough and the chocolate chip cookies. I got the brown sugar out. I need to grab the chocolate chips out of the pantry, and then I'll need to look up the sugar cookie recipe. So let's get started on the pie dough. So now I got the 3 balls of pie dough, and I'm gonna wrap 2 of them in plastic wrap, put them in, like, flatten them out. I'll flatten them out on the plastic wrap, put them in the freezer. One of them I'm gonna flatten out and just put in a plastic baggie because I'm gonna be using that today. Actually, I decided to put 2 of the 2 that I don't need yet in a bigger Ziploc because they're not going to be in the freezer very long. So, like, just a couple weeks. And so it should be fine. So. These 2 are going to go in the freezer, and then this one honestly maybe just needs to be in a little bit more of a ball shape for this baggie. And this one's going to go in the fridge for later. Okay, now we're going to make the chocolate chip cookies. Again, I'm using the Magnolia Joanna Gaines chocolate chip cookie recipe. And these are really easy to, I'm trying to make sure it is getting to be more room temperature. These are really easy to throw together. So I'm actually going to use the same bowl because it was just flour, water, sugar, or flour, water, salt. So I need 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour. So I have my 1 cup measuring cup, and I just like to take the back of a knife, as long as it's not curved, and get my even top on my flour. So that's 1 cup. That's 2 cups. And now we need 1/2 cup. So I'm going to use this 1/4 cup, so we'll do 2 of these. So that's half. And you're supposed to mix all of your dry ingredients together and then your wet ingredients. So next we need baking soda, 1 heaping teaspoon of baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt, and that will be our dry ingredients. So let's go ahead and do the salt. So we need 1/2 teaspoon. This is a 1/4 teaspoon. It's very tiny. And I'm just gonna do 2 of these. Plus my butter that I'm using is salted. I always use salted butter. Very, very, very rarely do I use unsalted butter. I like a little bit of salt in my baked goods. Got my baking soda. So I will say I love this cookie recipe because it does not use baking powder. I don't know if a lot of cookie recipes use baking powder. I hate the taste of baking powder, but I don't mind baking soda. Baking soda blends in a lot easier. So it says 1 heaping teaspoon of baking soda. So to make sure I get the right measurement, I really need to invest in a new set of measuring spoons. Maybe after Christmas I'll get one. So I have this little measuring spoon thing from my bread maker. This side is a tablespoon. We do not need that. And this side is a teaspoon. So it says 1 heaping teaspoon of baking soda. So I'm just going to get a heaping of that. Put a little bit in there. Okay. And then I'm going to whisk all of these things together to mix them in nicely. And then we will do our wet ingredients in my stand mixer. This is a KitchenAid stand mixer. I have 2. The one that I'm going to use today is an older model. Actually, they probably still sell it, but it was actually Kaysen's grandparents. They got, I believe, when they got married. And so it's, you know, still in amazing condition. It just needed to be wiped down whenever we got it. So, but other than that, it was great. And I use this one a lot. I do use the one I got whenever we got married. I use that one quite a bit as well, especially if I'm doing like a really good amount of baking in a day or a weekend. I'll use both because I love the mixing bowls on these. So here's my stand mixer. It's just a white KitchenAid. Let's see, it's the Professional 5 Plus. And this is, I'm not 100% sure what quart size this bowl is, but I do like it. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so then it says in here, we are going to do a paddle attachment. So I have this paddle attachment. I got this off of Amazon. It has a silicone scraper. I love that because it does scrape up the sides better than, actually I probably could get a bigger one. I think I got this one from my other bowl. Anyway, it does scrape the sides a little bit better. Actually, I need a bigger size for this bowl. I'm not sure if I still have the bigger size. This paddle attachment, it fits on here, but it actually is for my other KitchenAid mixer. It still works. It's all good. Okay, so in the stand mixer, we're gonna beat the butter and sugar on medium-high until light and fluffy for 2 to 3 minutes, and then we'll add the eggs, beat until blended, and then we'll add the vanilla. So, no, I said we were gonna make sugar cookies first. Just kidding. We're gonna make chocolate chip cookies first because I have the recipe right here. And I've made these so many times. Honestly, it's just like super easy. So I have eggs for my chickens. I'm gonna crack them individually into this bowl just to make sure that they're good eggs. If I don't want to put a bad egg in there and then it ruin the mixture. So I'm gonna crack them each individually. And it's like been freezing outside at night, and then one of my girls is broody, so like, ugh, I don't want to accidentally get a bad egg. But this one was good, so we'll go ahead and put that one in there. And then we have one more, so it calls for 2 eggs. And so I washed up 4 because I'm not sure how many eggs the sugar cookies will need. So just to be safe, I just washed up 4, but I actually have plenty. I have plenty of eggs if I need more from my little chickie girls. And then it says butter. And so we're going to do a whole stick of butter. That's why I got all 4 out. I do have 4 more sticks of butter in the refrigerator if we need it. Again, I'm using salted butter. This is just the Publix brand. I'm going to make it a little bit easier on the mixer and like kind of break it up a little bit. Okay, so there's that. And then I'm gonna let this go for 2 to 3 minutes. It does have this like locking thing, so you wanna pull that up before you turn it on. It actually won't let you turn it on if it's not locked up. So I said beat the butter and sugar on high, but what we're gonna do is we put the eggs and the butter in there. That's fine. I'm gonna go ahead and add the sugar and then it'll be okay. 2 packed cups of sugar. So what we're gonna do, I did get everything out, I believe. Yes. So I'm gonna use my half cup to measure out the sugar. I need 2 packed cups, so 4 of these. Just a little bit of extra in there. All right, so there's the sugar. So we're gonna turn this back on. We're gonna let it go for 2 to 3 minutes, and then we should be good. Okay, so now I'm going to add 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract. So I have a half teaspoon here, so I'll do 3 of these. And you know, if a little bit more gets in there, we're not gonna be mad about it, but I do need to buy some more. I would love to make my own vanilla. I think that that's what I'm gonna do. Like, I think you need 6 months. So maybe like this summer, I will make my own vanilla. And we're just gonna mix this up really quick. All right, that's all mixed in. So now we're gonna add the flour, salt, baking soda mixture that's in this bowl. We're just gonna add it to this, and I'm gonna slowly mix it in. All right, this is all mixed in, and my camera battery is about to die, so I need to change that out. So this is all mixed in together, and now I need to add the chocolate chips. So it says to add 1.5 cups of chocolate chips, but we know that we like a lot of chocolate. So what I'm gonna do is just eyeball it. I do about 1/2 to 2/3 of a bag of chocolate chips. Normally I don't use Nestle Toll House, but they are good, so I'm gonna use those today. And then I'm gonna add these in, and then I will scoop them on to my baking sheets, get them in the oven. I need to preheat the oven at 350, and they take about 10 to 11 minutes to bake. And I did find that the last time I made these, which was like a week ago, they do bake up in the 10 to 11 minutes perfectly. I got a new Pampered Chef baking sheet. It's huge, and my aunt got it for me for Christmas. So she gave it to me early because she knew I was going to do a lot of baking. And it is the best pan besides the one that we got from Kaysen's grandmother that's been around for forever. This is the aluminum pan we got from his grandmother. This pan is also amazing. My Pampered Chef one is amazing. It doesn't burn the bottoms as long as you pay attention to your baked goods being in the oven. It doesn't burn the bottom. I have a Le Creuset baking pan, and even with like a silicone mat or parchment paper, it burns the bottom of things. It doesn't cook evenly, but we're not using those pans today. So I'm gonna add about half to 2/3 of this bag, and then I'm gonna get it all mixed in. All right, it's all mixed in, and it looks like my memory card is about to be full, so I will see y'all back once I have these baked and out of the oven, and then we will get started on the sugar cookies. I will say these are for a customer, so I'm gonna make them pretty good size. And also that's why I'm wearing gloves. If I was making these for myself and Kason, I would not be wearing gloves. All right, next we have sugar cookies. So I have this butter. I'm going to put it in the microwave for just a couple of seconds and get it softened while I get new gloves. The oven is still preheating for the chocolate chip cookies, but I'm gonna follow the sugar cookie recipe that's on that towel that I got a few years ago. So it's just 1 cup of softened butter. And now that I'm thinking about it, I think this is just half a cup. So I need another one. I need to go get another stick of butter. Let me get that already. All right, so here's the second stick of butter. And then it says that I need to beat the butter and the sugar. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna clean this off. All right, that is washed off from the other butter or the other mixture. So there's half a cup. Here is the other half. I'm gonna go ahead and melt that. No, that was 1/2 of a cup. I have the other half in the microwave softening, not melting, softening. This back on the correct way. Soft enough. All right, we're done with that. And then it says we need with 1.25 cups of 1.25 cups of granulated sugar. Yeah. So we have sugar here, 1.25. So this is half. I'm gonna have to get my other sugar out of the pantry. It's half a cup. That's almost a full cup. Let me get a little bit more sugar. All right, that should be 1.25 cups. And then it says to beat until it's nice and fluffy. Add 1 egg and 2 tablespoons of vanilla. I just realized I needed to double this recipe. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add more of the sugar. Go ahead and add the other 2 sticks of butter. Let me go ahead and then we'll add more vanilla and then another egg. So here, one and a quarter. Okay, let me get the other 2 things of butter. I decided to double this last minute. So I need to get another bowl out because I already set that one in the sink, which is fine because then I can do these at the same time. And I'm gonna do dishes in a little while anyway because I have the girls coming over tomorrow. I gotta get the dishes done. But I can go ahead and put the chocolate chip cookies in the oven. And I set a timer for 10 minutes for the chocolate chip cookies. Here is more butter, the butter and sugar, and then that 1 egg is already in there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna beat that until it's nice and smooth or fluffy, and then I'm gonna add that other egg. All right, that is nice and fluffy. Now it says 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour. So we're gonna double that. So it'll be 5 cups of all-purpose flour. And I have plenty of flour, so don't let this deceive you. So it says 5 cups. So what I'm gonna do, I have, well, you know what? I have my cup. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the recipe calls for baking powder. We know from what I said earlier, I don't like baking powder. So we're gonna use baking soda, and we're gonna use the same amount of baking soda that we used in the last recipe. So 1 heaping teaspoon, but we're gonna double it. So 2 heaping teaspoons. All right, and then we also need to add salt. It says 1/4 teaspoon of salt, so we need 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So here's my 1/4 teaspoon. We'll do this twice. And I'm gonna do a heaping because I might do a little bit extra. I like a little bit of salt with all the sugar. That'll be fine. And then we're gonna mix all of this together. And then we'll add this mixture to the wet ingredients. So some of these are for customer and some of these are for our girls' night because we're doing cookie decorating. All right, so that's all mixed in. And then it says you can combine everything. So I'm gonna turn this on like a slow one and I'm gonna pour this in. All right, so that is all incorporated. And I have my little spatula here. I'm gonna just get it all off of this blade or paddle attachment. It's not a blade. Y'all saw that? Well, the dogs are about to eat that. Even though they shouldn't, but there's no way I could get to it fast enough before they scarf it up. They'll be all right. They've eaten weirder stuff in the yard. We're trying to keep them out of the kitchen, but they're on the other side of the island. And they're just little vultures. And remember earlier when I was like, I'm gonna vacuum the kitchen. Maybe that was in the other vlog, but whenever I'm gonna vacuum the kitchen after I bake because I always spill something. Yeah, there's flour all over the countertop. So, okay, here is our sugar cookie. That was so easy, honestly. I couldn't tell you the last time I made sugar cookies, but that was so easy. And there's so much here, y'all. There's so many. Look at that dough. Oh, so pretty. Smells like sugar cookies. So now I have my little scoop. I'm gonna wipe off some of the chocolate chip cookie off of that. I don't have a pan right now because the chocolate chip cookies are in the oven. So I'm gonna clean up a little bit while those are done. They have 3 minutes and then I'll put the other pan of chocolate chip cookies in and then I'll put these on the, you'll see. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean up a little bit. All right, that timer is gonna go off in 47 seconds. And then I'll put the other chocolate chip cookies in there. I'm gonna put these on a cooling rack and then I'm going to let that pan cool off a little bit before I put the sugar cookie dough on there. I do have one more thing I need to do and that is get the pecan pie mixture all mixed up. I need to get a bowl out for that. And I need to get the pecans out of the freezer and the rest of the ingredients, which I'm pretty sure I just put up sugar and I need sugar. So I'll have to get that back out. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get all of the ingredients mixed up. So I need 1 cup of sugar. So we're gonna measure out the sugar. This is a 1/3 cup. So we're just gonna, because I already put all my other measuring cups in there. So we need 3 of these. Okay. Then we need 1 cup of Caro light or dark corn syrup. I have the light. Do we love using corn syrup? No. I'm gonna say 1 cup. So that's a 1/3. All that. 2/3. And then it calls for 3 eggs. So I'm going to put the eggs in here. Hopefully they're all good. Okay. 1. 2. 3. Get out of the kitchen, Wrangler. Okay, 3 eggs. And then 2 tablespoons of butter, which I will add in a minute, but I'm gonna go ahead and add the vanilla extract, just a teaspoon, so I'm just gonna do that. And then got the eggs, 1.5 cups of pecans. So this is gonna be the rest of these bags. There's a few left. Let's mix this all up. And then we need to mix the butter in too. So calls for 2 tablespoons of melted butter. Wrangler, get out of the kitchen. I'm going to go ahead and add the rest of those. Get out of the kitchen. Okay, let me wash this. 2 tablespoons of butter. Get out of the kitchen. Get out of the kitchen. Two tablespoons of melted butter. Some of it did overflow. And we're gonna mix that in. Let's see, so we put that pie crust in the refrigerator at 3:30. So it still has about an hour, but at least this is mixed up. And I'm not gonna put this in the fridge because I don't want it to solidify. I'm gonna just put some plastic wrap over this and trying to think. Maybe I will put this in the refrigerator because I still have an hour. So I'll put this in the refrigerator with some plastic wrap over it. chocolate chip cookies. They're cooling. And then I have some sugar cookies on there ready to go in the oven. More sugar cookies. Now I need to assemble the pecan pie. I'm just rolling out the pie dough to put in the pie pan, and then I will put the filling in, and then we'll put it in the oven for I think about an hour to an hour and a half. On 350. here are the cookies all boxed up. These are for my customer at work. And then these are gonna be for the girls' night. Here is the pecan pie for my aunt that she ordered. Once it cools off all the way, I'll be able to box it up. Well, that is it for my baking vlog. Thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned for more.